direction, sets the stage to turn the page. At the raising of the curtain, I am hurting and uncertain of the parts that we have played. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again? Fading out of the close-up, everybody's reeling, no concealing. Your beauty is seed stealing. Violins are singing, sunset's waiting, radiating. Your entrance is breathtaking. Why must the show go on? I can't say these lines again. Why must the show go on? Must I sing this song again?
Hello, and welcome to episode 38 of the Four-Wall Sunday Roundtable. Drew Quinones is usually here to greet everyone before bringing me on. Those who watch the show every week may know that his mom has been sick, and he's taking some time to be with her and will be back soon. We are all sending positive thoughts and good wishes to Drew and his family. Drew, we'll see you very soon and can't wait. Our roundtable guests this week are here to help celebrate 38 years of the Hemsley lighting programs and a little later to announce the recipient of the first HOWELL BINKLEY Fellowship. The Hemsley lighting programs for over 3 decades have been helping current students and recent graduates bridge the often intimidating divide between the educational and professional worlds. Present company included, I was an intern many, many years ago. Before we speak with a few others who completed the internship, I'd like to introduce 3 of the founders. In other years, they would be addressing a room full of entertainment professionals gathered for a long day, gathered after a long day of portfolio reviews. The reviews took place today over Zoom and very successfully. But since we can't all be in the same room, we're going to continue that tradition here. So welcome Alan Adelman, Ellen Sorrin, and Mark Stanley to drink a little virtual toast. Happy Hemsley Review Day.
It is a happy day. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Do we have Ellen? I wonder, Ellen's here somewhere. Maybe her camera's off. Well, let's get going. Mark, before we talk about the Hemsley lighting programs, can you just tell us a little about the namesake of the programs? Who was Gilbert V. Hemsley?
Gilbert V. Hemsley was a lighting designer who taught at the University of Wisconsin in Madison from the early 70s until the early 80s. Sadly, he passed away in 1983, very suddenly at the age of 47. He had a successful Broadway career, also opera career at the Metropolitan Opera and Boston Opera, and dance companies around the country. He influenced hundreds of students throughout his little over 10 years of teaching in Madison. Alan, Ellen, and I being one of them, or 3 of them.
Ellen was here. We had her. Maybe she'll get back to us. But in the meantime, so you were all instrumental in creating the Hemsley internship program and have all worked from the beginning in 1983. Can you tell us how it got started?
Go ahead, Alan.
Well, both Mark and myself were privileged to be assistants at New York City Opera. You know, I graduated before Mark. I was ahead of Mark. So I was Gilbert's assistant at New York City Opera for the season of 1978, 79, I believe. And then I went on from that to do other things. And then Mark came after I did. And because of that, we, you know, when Gilbert died, through the grace of Beverly Sills and the people at New York City Opera, we were able to set up this program under the auspices of New York City Opera. But Mark knows more of the details, or remembers more of the details, than I would at this point.
On the hot seat, Mark. Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, really, it was just a group effort of all the people that Gilbert had influenced over his life, during his life, and with the help of Beverly and the good graces of Beverly, we were able to start the internship at City Opera, and then it expanded. After that, in the early 90s, we became our own nonprofit corporation and started many other programs that have followed.
There are several other, as you mentioned, there's a lot of other programs that make up the Hemsley now. We've mentioned the internship, and I mentioned the portfolio review. Can you tell us about the others? What else is there? And we're going to talk about the new HOWELL BINKLEY Fellowship later, but what else is there, Alan?
Well, we do have a masterclass program where we offer the opportunity to go to universities and bring professionals into their curriculum to help them when they want to connect to the professional world. And the portfolio review, which was a huge undertaking about 15 years ago. When we got it started, we only had about 13 students and a handful of professionals. And today we had 60 students from internationally. We had some zooming in from Dublin and from China. And we had professional designers, directors, scene designers from all over the country. It was really a fantastic day.
It's always a great day, and I always do look forward to it. And even though it wasn't in person, it was on Zoom today. I still thought there was a great connection. So yeah, Alan, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and there are two other programs that are worth discussing, which is the Hemsley Independent Study Program, which enables kids who have great ideas that are outside the scope of what they've been teaching in class. You know, if they can find a mentor to work with, we're accepting independent study proposals, and we're willing to help subsidize somebody who has a very interesting and unique idea for an independent study program, something that helps them to bridge their academic to professional life, which is really what we're all about. And then we also have our lighting intensives program, which has actually gotten kicked up this time because of this. Everybody's doing this stuff digitally. All the schools are doing video versions of their stage productions. We've initiated a digital seminar for lighting for digital media, which Bob Barnhart and I have been teaching, and we've done 12 of those throughout for 12 different schools around the country. And all that information is on the website. If you go to, and we're still available to teach those classes, and it's all part of the lighting intensives program.
That's great. We will at some point put the website in the chat, even if it's afterwards. So if people do want to check back, they can find it. I see that we have Ellen back in the studio. Hi, Ellen. I believe we've answered all of the questions, but now you can say hello to everyone.
Good.
Ellen, one of the founders of the Hemsley internship.
Okay, I'll say hello. I don't know what was said. I was frozen out. I couldn't get in, so I got on my tablet. But anyway, I just want to say that, you know, Gilbert for us was a great mentor, friend, colleague, and you know, to this day, we're thrilled that we can honor him every year at the portfolio review and with the internship. And I really find myself overcome with emotion at how much it's meant to all the students and the professionals who join us every year. So thank you all.
It's hard to keep anything going, and it's impressive that it's been going as long as it has. So congratulations, and thank you for all the hard work. And we all know in the community, we all know how hard you do work on this. So thank you. You mentioned thank yous. And sorry, Mark, you want to give us some context on this picture?
Yeah, so this is Gilbert on top of a cherry picker being rolled up Broadway by, if you look to the left of the screen, Richie Beck and Johnny Van Sr. And out of Alan, I don't know if you remember these others, but
I was thinking about that, and I can't remember. I should remember their names, but I can't even remember the names.
Gilbert had several shows running simultaneously on Broadway. Sugar Babies was a huge hit, and Christmas was coming uptown, and Most Happy Fella, and they needed a cherry picker to do a focus in another theater, and they just rolled it up Broadway with him on top of it.
I think that picture says everything people need to know about Gilbert. Speaking of thank yous, Mark, I know that there are a lot of people to thank, and
there are, and you said earlier, Jeff, it takes a lot of people to make all this happen, and I just want to say thank you to our board, Ken Billington, Al Crawford, Philip Rosenberg, Ken Tabachnik, Penny Jacobus, and of course Ellen and Alan for all their support over these years. Our two great interns this year, Avery Reagan and Rachel Blackwell, we couldn't have gotten this weekend on without you. And Helen McCullough, who was our very first intern in 1983. She helps now put the portfolio review together, so she's instrumental. Very quickly, the people who were involved, Craig Stelzenmuller did a fantastic seminar on Friday. Four-Wall, we were so grateful for their support with Al Crawford putting together the manufacturers yesterday. Alan Lee Hughes, ML Geiger, and Xavier Pierce for their wonderful talk back last night. All our professional designers who came today, and directors, scenic designers, projection designers, costume designers, Lighting and Sound America, our media sponsors, the Jerome Robbins Foundation, and last but very much not least, our dear friends at Roscoe who have been with Gilbert from Gilbert was a Roscoe dealer, actually. And so Stan Miller, who founded Roscoe, and Gilbert were great friends. And so we're very grateful for Roscoe's participation.
And as in every year, we have, well, at least for the last several years, Chad Tiller here live in our studio. Why don't we bring Chad in to present the giant check? And one year I want there to be a giant check.
I really need to do like a massive cardboard check some year. No,
we did have a big check one year, didn't we?
Did you?
We did.
Well, we've had some big number checks, but we have never had one of those like home clearinghouse checks. Yeah.
Chad, can you explain?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on. It's a very special relationship between Roscoe and the Hemsley lighting programs. As a brief moment of introduction, my name is Chad Tiller. I'm the Vice President of Roscoe's Global Live Entertainment Market Business, and I'm pleased to join the roundtable tonight. I admit I'd much rather be gathered in New York City, surrounded by friends and colleagues, celebrating the next young generation of lighting designers. But support of the entertainment lighting industry and its rising professionals has long been a cornerstone of the culture at Roscoe. And after the year we've all just endured, that support is as crucial as ever. The Hemsley lighting programs give students the opportunity to become immersed in all aspects of lighting design and the process. And it's our pleasure to not only honor the legacy of Gilbert Hemsley, but to partner with a program that inspires and educates the future of our field. Our industry is a collaborative one, and each one of us relies on the support of our other colleagues to create a compelling vision or tell a compelling story or embody the world of the stage with vibrancy and vitality. So it's spurred by that spirit of collaboration that Roscoe is pleased to donate the proceeds of Roscoe Lux 361, appropriately named Hemsley Blue, to the Hemsley lighting programs. We've been donating since 2006, and this year's donation of $1,530 brings our cumulative donation over the years to $41,868. So thank you for allowing us this opportunity to create something brilliant together. And even though John McGraw is not our bartender tonight, I'll raise a glass to Gilbert's memory and to all of you who keep it sane and keep it safe. Cheers, and cheers to this year's Hemsley applicants.
Bravo.
Thanks.
Hear, hear.
Cheers.
Hear,
Well
hear.
said, Chad. Hear, hear.
Thank you,
You all so much for joining us. I hope you have a great night. I hope you watch the rest of the show. You'll recognize everybody. And again, thank you so much. And great having you on.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you,
Bye,
Jeff.
everyone. Before we continue, I'm going to say one quick thing. Next week on the Four Wall Roundtable, we have lighting supervisors, places like opera, ballet, the Public Theater, and perhaps a little magic show in Vegas also. And as always, please remember to watch Light Humor episode 1, which you can find on Four Walls Facebook and YouTube pages. There we go. Plugs over. Let's bring in our panelists for this week. Al, they are all former Hemsley interns, and let's welcome Nicole Pearce, Conor Mulligan, Kenny Schutz, and Jeanette Yew. And hello, everyone. And are we one short? Here's everyone. Hi, everyone. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining us here. Thanks for waiting through the telethon. We're gonna dive right in, and we're gonna start with Kenny, because I think you were the intern right after me, right? I think
yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, number 11, and you were number 10.
Is that right? Wow.
Yeah, I was proud of that number for some reason. I don't know why.
Number. It was 100 years ago. Yeah. All right, Kenny. At some point, probably long before you applied to become the Hemsley intern, something ignited a passion for lighting design. What was that first spark for you?
Like so many of us, it was high school. And there was this one day, I was at the time a photographer for the high school newspaper, and I was sent to go into the theater to photograph tech rehearsals. I had no idea, I'd never been. And they were starting the technical rehearsal for As You Like It. It was in the round, on the stage. The set was this tie-dyed parachute over the entire space. I know, sounds awful. It was 1984. Everything was horrible in 1984. And there was this moment where it was work lights, and then they just turned them off and turned on the stage lights. Of course, everything changed in that moment, and I was hooked.
Amazing. That's great. I love these stories. Conor, how about you?
Hello. Yeah, so for me, I went to, when it started for college for me, actually, but I started college in community college, and I started as like an actor. I wanted to write plays, I wanted to direct the plays I wrote and all that stuff, which eventually led me to working for the theater on our campus in the like year in between finishing community college and continuing on with my education. And so they hired me mostly to just build sets and things like that. I had no idea what I was doing. They taught me everything as I did it. But eventually they're like, hey, do you want to turn the lights on and off? And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And it was the actual like doing of it that I sort of figured out that I really, really enjoyed it, because I was like discovering things, which I later learned once I actually went to school for lighting, was just backlight and side light and like very simple rudimentary things, but just that like organic discovery of, let me try putting a light here and see what it does to this person. It just really got me hooked. And it was that moment where someone just trusted me to go play and didn't want to be in charge of it anymore. And I got to have fun doing it. So
amazing. Jeanette, your turn.
My turn.
Yeah.
I think mine is much later. It has nothing to do with school. I was actually volunteering at a theater in Seattle, and I was running light cues on a 2-scene preset board. Remember where the pencil becomes super important in the whole process. And I remember getting into an argument with the director as to why I couldn't just reset all of the level and then have it pop into the next cue, which all the other ones that was not on before is now all there, have to change, and then pop back to a totally different look where all 24 sliders is at a different position in zero count, like 0, 0. And I was trying to explain to him that is just not possible. And that was the moment in kind of like, oh, there's something interesting about how this thing make art in tempo and in the intangible. That is fascinating. So that was how it started.
That's amazing. Also, Nicole, how about you?
Yeah, for me, I was in high school and working on a stage crew. Our high school was rather large, so we had a giant auditorium. It seated 1,800 people, and groups from the community would use our space for shows. And we had one dance show going on, and someone asked my boss, Trish Hendy, they said, can you put together a light show to cover a costume quick change that was going on too long? So she put together this light show, and I started watching it, and the music is driving, and it's just one baton that flies in slowly, and there's 4 lights on it, and they're just kind of turning on and off like one at a time really slowly. I'm looking at it going, this is kind of dumb. But if you looked up at the ceiling of the auditorium, there's these buildings that stretched all the way across, you know, for yards going on, and they're all morphing in time to the music. And I thought, okay, I'm going to do that.
Did you ever get to do that? Or something like that?
Yes. Lighting the ceiling of the auditorium is one of my favorite things to do.
That's great. Okay, Conor, you're next. Conor, what is your abridged history prior to the internship? What was your path to the internship?
Sure. A little bit of it was contained in the first. I started in community college where I didn't really know that theater had a technical element to it, because I was like, thought it was all acting and whatever. But it's once I realized that like everything around it really sort of shaped this world, I decided to go back to school to actually like study lighting design, and then from there moved on to grad school. And then it was in grad school where I first encountered the Hemsley lighting program and what it was, and expressed an interest in it. And yeah, so it was sort of just a long, slow trudgery through school, and then realizing that like this was a really cool opportunity if I could kind of make it happen for myself, to get out there into like New York and into the real world of things, which I had felt I was lacking through school. A lot of my classmates had done summer stocks or things like that. And again, it just never occurred to me that like also lighting people would go to summer stock or things like that. So it was a real hope to fill in those gaps. And that's sort of what led me to that.
You bring up a great point. It's something that didn't come up. I mean, I met with a lot of students today as well. And something I didn't say was summer stock. So if anyone's watching, summer stock. Okay. Nicole, same question.
The path to the internship.
Yeah. What led up to it for you?
I was pretty straightforward for me. I was at undergrad at Kent State, and then I went out to graduate school at Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas. So that's my link to Kenny, because we both hail from there. And then after my first year, my teacher, Chris Barreca, decided that he was going to move over to CalArts. And so myself and about 7 other students got in the same moving van with him, and we moved to California, and we finished our studies out there. And my job was to drive his 2-seater red Miata from Dallas to Los Angeles and replace all 4 tires on the way. I'm still feeling that one, but it was legitimate. You could see the treads as the seams in the tires were splitting. And then after that, I found out about the internship at SMU and pursued it from there as I finished.
Now, did you decide to replace the tires, or did he tell you it was time to replace the tires?
I pulled into a full service station to fill up on the second day, just to kind of like get myself aligned. And the guy who was pumping the gas was like, "Hey, these tires are not looking good." And because I asked him to check the pressure in the tires, and he could stick the pressure checker into the strings in the treads.
I digress. It's not an automotive show, but
yeah.
And Chris has been on here.
I have a story about the red Miata too, but we'll leave that aside.
We'll share that one later.
Chris has been on this program and one of my favorite guests also. So thanks for conjuring him. Jeanette, what was your path to the internship?
I have a very much more convoluted path. My undergraduate degree is actually in business administration accounting. I actually work for a Fortune 500 company that do manufacturing processes. And that was my job mostly. I did take lighting design classes, actually with ML Geiger as my sort of double major in theater, but then someone offered me money when I was finished with business. And I thought that, well, hey, no student loan debt and $25,000 a year, I'm going to be rich. So I should take this opportunity. So I did. But then I decided to volunteer back in doing theater work. And so slowly, sort of one thing led to another. I find out that I really like lighting design. And then I thought, hey, I did not finish the undergraduate degree. Maybe there was like some secret that everybody who went to undergraduate school knew about that I don't. So I went back to grad school. So except that I went to Cal Arts, which is also kind of funny because of what Cal Arts is. And then while I was there, someone mentioned to me about the internship. I went there for Chris Ackerland.
Sure.
And someone told me that there was this internship. Why don't you give it a try? I actually wasn't sure if I want to be in New York. And so I applied, and then surprisingly, I got the internship, and that brought me here.
And here you stayed.
Yes.
It seems, yeah. And Ken, how about you?
Well, college was over, and I just applied for the internship. The committee, in its infinite wisdom, decided that a Chinese major with no actual experience was maybe not the best choice, so they gave it to John Lasseter instead. I then went to grad school and applied again, and second time worked.
I'm John. Amazing. Jeanette, let's go to you next. So the experience of the program has evolved and expanded over the years. It's actually quite different now than it was when I did it, and probably very different, Kenny, from when you did it also. Where the intern works and with whom has evolved. Jeanette, what were your experiences, and where did you work and with whom?
I was still with the New York City Opera before the changes in the New York City Opera. So I actually started out with the Lincoln Center Festival when the Lincoln Center Festival was also still around. My venue was the LaGuardia High School venue. And with 1 week over at the State Theater at the time, which that was back in the State Theater is called the Coach Theater is called the State Theater. And then I worked then I went into the opera season, which was intense and crazy. I think the first designer that I encountered was Pat Collins. And like that whole culture was just completely foreign to me. And really grueling. That's where I also learned to focus light without being in the dark, because you just never get dark to actually focus a light.
No, you do not.
No.
Quiet.
No, I actually had a conversation with David this afternoon that I prefer now to not be in total darkness. I find it intimidating when I walk in and they turn on that one solo light and say, focus. And I was like, can you have other lights on?
Shouldn't someone else be working somewhere?
Yeah, exactly. Some noise, somebody drilling, pounding somewhere. Yeah. And then I finished it off with the New York City Ballet, which was a art form that I didn't really know a lot about. So that was really great to be able to see it at that level.
Who was the resident designer at the opera when you were there? Do you remember who it was?
I went in with Jeff.
Yeah.
And Tess was the assistant, and Evan O'Brien, who is now actually with New York Theater Workshop. I think he went into producing work. That was, and I owe a lot to Jeff also.
Oh, I should say which Jeff? There were two.
Yeah.
We're back-to-back Jeffs there.
I'm horrible with names. Jeff Harris.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I owe a lot to Jeff Harris. He's like one of the most honest person I've ever met. Most brutal and the most honest person.
He's now a production manager. I'm sure you've worked with him at some point as a production manager. He's one of my favorites if you're watching, Jeff, thank you. Ken, what was your experience? Maybe similar to mine, but where were you when you were the intern?
Well, Jeff, did you do just opera, or were you opera and ballet?
I was the intern at the opera, and then I think a little bit of ballet, and then I worked a little bit for the ballet also.
Okay, because I had this thought that I was the first intern who did ballet because they had switched seasons. Maybe I'm off. I'm not sure.
No, that's probably true. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Well, the remarkable thing is not so much that I was the first. In retrospect, it seemed the remarkable thing is that there was ever a second. And so it started as opera, then ballet, then back to opera. But the tricky part about the ballet was that there was Nutcracker and about 4 weeks of, just Nutcracker.
Right.
And I don't think that the internship had actually thought about what was going to happen or assumed that I would just take a break. And I said to Mark, okay, what are you going to do with me? I want to keep going and keep working. And I have this image of Mark calling everyone in the city, please, how are you going to, please, someone take this pain in the neck off our hands for a little while. And ultimately it was Stan Pressner who did for 4 weeks. And that was the start of a long thing as well.
Yeah, amazing. Conor, what was your intern experience?
Yeah, so I started at the Lincoln Center Festival, which is no more, but and it was really good. It was good. It was crazy. It actually, I felt like I was failing in every 2 seconds because it was so much at such a fast pace. But I worked with Aaron Kopp there, but he also had Kate Bayshore, Kate Ashton, Christina Watanabe, and Nick Colin as associates. So I got to work with
a
team. Yeah, I learned a lot from all of them, and still there are things where I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that's applicable. That's applicable. But after that, I went to the San Francisco Opera, which was my first time working in opera, and it was a huge learning curve. And actually, I think what's really cool about the internship, from my perspective, is that just about when you get used to how one company works, you go on to the next, and they do it entirely differently, which was helpful from an educational standpoint. Is that there are these standards on how we do things in the world, but people have figured it out in different parts of the country and in different venues, like dance versus opera. So it was good to really see that and gain a respect for each way of doing something. And while I was at the opera, Gary Martyr was the resident designer, and he had Sarah Tunderman and Eric Furbish work for him. And actually, Sarah Tunderman is a designer who I work with now down in Baltimore all the time. So that's really cool that we
great. Yeah.
Continue on. Yeah. And then from there, I came back to New York and did New York City Ballet, the Nutcracker, in the real quick version. And Penny was hilarious because she's like, everything you just learned, forget it, because you'll never do anything like this ever again, even when you come back to the ballet after Ailey. So it was great. Don't remember how to do it. Then went from there to Alvin Ailey, and I worked with Al Crawford and Roya, and that was just a beautiful time. That was so artistically just inspiring. Sure. And then from there went to New York City Ballet for the fall.
For the real season.
Yeah, for the actual season, and worked there with Penny and Mark and Katie Atwell. So it was it was a lot. It was really wonderful.
Yeah, that's amazing. Penny will be on next week, actually.
Oh, wonderful.
If you like Penny, stay tuned. Kenny, I forgot to, Kenny Schutz, you worked with Jeff Davis.
Jeff Davis, I was going to wait for everyone to speak and then say I really missed an important shout out, because Jeff Davis, and you know this as well as I do, is a prince among men and the most generous of mentors.
Thank you for saying so. I could not agree with you more. He did a lot for me, and I don't think I would have been chosen as the intern if it weren't for him. So thanks, Jeff.
Yeah, me too.
Nicole, what was your internship experience? Who did you work with?
I started with New York City Opera with Jeff Harris and Penny Jacobus and Jeff Brangen. And then went on, I guess we brought that up right into a changeover into New York City Ballet for Nutcracker, just like Conor and I, and then went over to Ailey, where Al was still the assistant and Brenda Gray was the lighting supervisor at the time. And they let me hang out as a groupie even after I went back to the ballet, because I loved just everything about Ailey.
So much love.
Yeah, I just, the audience, the artistry on stage, they're incredible. And then back to New York City Ballet with Mark Stanley.
Cool. It's pretty different experiences. All of us had very different experiences at this. It's also another testament to the whole thing. Nicole, let's stick with you. speaking of experiences, almost everyone I've spoken with has a different takeaway from doing the internship. What were yours, both immediately following and if you remember long term, if it was different?
If my perspective altered over time?
Yeah.
No, I mean, it was an invaluable experience from top to bottom, and just being thrust into a situation where you are coming from education into the real world, and you're used to working with your buddies as your crew, and all of a sudden now you're working with the uber echelon of Local 1 is like the fast track of education, lifetime education that I could have ever possibly imagined. I mean, and then on top of that, you're sitting next to folks like Ken Posner calling follow spots for a brand new opera, as a dipping your toe into the experience of handling 8 follow spots at one time. So that was also incredible. It was just incredible. There's nothing I could just keep going about all
Sure.
of the examples that were amazing, but it really was the best stepping stone for me to leap from education to the real world.
Yeah. Jeanette, how about you?
Oh, yeah, I think similar to Nicole, there are so many things. I think that for me, I would say that what unique about it is like, because my graduate education is in Cal Arts, which we don't have proscenium.
Right.
So just like encountering what proscenium spaces look like and how to do it, it's kind of amazing. I also, it introduced me to a certain form on a certain scale that usually when you get out right off school, you won't get, which I think is nice to be able to have a seat, like be a fly on the wall, sort of watch it in a scale that you won't get your hands on immediately, but you get to then see it and then hopefully learn from it and know, like learning, like seeing Pat Collins do opera within the city of New York City Opera framework. Is invaluable to understand how you can accomplish the work within such a tight and crazy like schedule.
And watching Pat Collins do it is very different than watching Mitch Dana or Jeff Davis and Ken Tabachnik do it, which was also that was fascinating to me to see differences.
And one last thing I would say is like I also learned about the fact that I will be a horrible assistant and associate. So therefore I did not pursue that career path, which was a great thing.
Important to know.
Yes.
Conor, how about you?
Yeah, I think the most immediate thing was, and I really picture learning this from Penny, it was like when we were focusing all the sidelight for the ballet, I was just, in my schooling and then the bit of work I did in sort of the regional theaters around where I went to school, it's like everything just felt so precious. It was being built in the theater and, but when I got to this world of like repertory, it was like Penny always just, if you know the big picture, you can prioritize your time and you can get it all done and it can all be perfect. And it just didn't click in my head during the internship at all. But then I was fortunate enough to take a small tour out as a lighting director. And on that tour, it all clicked because I knew that show from top to bottom, what some venues couldn't accommodate and what others could, and how it didn't interrupt the storytelling. And really that is the one big tangible chunk of something that I felt like I really got away from it in terms of that way of putting a show up, but in a repertory sense. And then in the long term, it's like cheesy in a way, but it's just like this idea of mentorship. It's like I went into an experience where I just wanted so much guidance, and like everyone who was there, a lot of the people involved in the internship either were interns or like have been involved with it forever. So that feeling of like mentorship and guidance and the sort of importance to one day be able to sort of like, one day I'll be there to say like, this is how we do it, or this is how I've learned to do it, or whatever it may be. And just being part of that story is just like, it's the thing, I guess.
Not cheesy. Well said. Thank you for saying that. I agree. Ken, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to come about this from a different direction. For me, it was a woman. Her name's Denise. She was my girlfriend for the 3 years after the internship. And then long term, she became my wife. And we're a few weeks away from our 22nd anniversary. And we met at New York State Theater. She worked there.
Well, that's great.
So when I tell people often that the internship had a more profound influence on my life than any other interns. I mean that in a very different sort of a way.
That's great. Contrast is everything in life. So again, a little short-term, long-term question. What was the next step after completing the internship? And what have you been up to since? So like right away, and then since then, Jeanette, let's go to you. So what happened right after, and then give us the brief history of Jeanette since the internship.
I changed career and no, I'm just kidding. The short term was I think I was actually hired back to do something with the ballet, and then also hired back for the next season to do something with the opera. So the short term, I got a few things, short term things. And then it was just like, fortunately, I decided to also then stay in New York City. And then one thing lead to another. Someone also give up a adjunct lecturer position, so I got one of those, and sort of one thing lead to another. I feel very fortunate that I was able to meet a lot of interesting people along the way and find collaborators. So I've been still doing this after all these years.
Yep. Nicole.
I think the first project I did right after the internship was with Steve Strawbridge, and we took a Martha Clark piece on the road, and even managed to squeeze it into the Ted Shawn at the Jacob's Pillow. Cool. And then after that, it was a series of assisting and a lot of studio work with Jim Ingalls, and then on to touring with the Mark Morris Dance Group. And I was with them for about 5 years and started designing for Mark while I was there, and then moved on from there to designing. And also assisted Miss Tipton, which led me to the Robbins Trust. And so I go out for the Robbins Trust and do lighting for teach the lighting for the Robbins ballets as well.
Oh my God, that's great.
Yeah.
Must be fun. Ken, how about you?
Immediately after the internship, I did another year at the opera, and then a number of years of designing this, that, and the other, some teaching as well. But then in 2006, I did sort of switch gears, and now since 2006, I've been doing architectural lighting design, working for Focus Lighting.
Yeah. And what do you do? What is that?
Focus as a company specializes mostly in hospitality, so a lot of 4- or 5-star restaurants, hotels, some casino work, a lot of residential, museum, you name it. If it's not an office, we kind of do it. And then my work there, I specialize mostly in supporting the designers in their work with specifications, budgeting, controls, technical things, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, cool. We should, Al Rodella, I know you're back there. We should do an episode on that. That's fascinating. In fact, we should have everyone here back to talk more about you as designers. This is a very Hemsley oriented episode, but you're all so fascinating to me. I want to know more. Conor, same question.
Yeah, right after the internship, I assisted some people I had either like people from the internship or had met through the internship. And I did a little bit of work at the ballet, actually doing sort of like, I would say, scenic translation into the world of Photoshop, but helping the ballet out with some of that. And yeah, just kind of kept on the assisting thing, just whoever I could find who I'd be interested in their work, or they needed somebody, or friends of mine passed some things this way. And then on top of that, just always trying to find little design opportunities. And then that's, again, kind of just continuing on what I've been doing since, designing more and assisting more and trying to work. Yeah.
Yeah. And you were, of the group, you're the last one to have completed it not that long ago, right? When was yours?
I keep wanting to say 5 years, except 2020 was a year, so it's 6 years. I just forget that this year passed by. So I think it's been 6 years, since I did it.
So here's a little internship aside question, and let's go to Ken. Internship aside, where and how do you gain inspiration for your work?
Speaking for my architectural work, it's actually all of my colleagues. They're the reason I get up in the morning.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's a great answer. Me too. Nicole.
Everywhere, lights everywhere. I research in my house, at my sister's house, artwork, rock concerts, you name it. It can, as long as it's available, I will use it.
Cool. Conor.
Very much the same. I love walking just without purpose. So actually, if you ever just walk down First Avenue forever, there's something beautiful about the way the light hits the buildings on that part of town. So it's just seeing the way light, is in the world. And then, of course, walking through the city at nighttime, you have just so many different lighting sources of different colors, different whatever. And it's just seeing how that creates this world that a lot of people ignore. It's kind of a lot of that stuff. And then I will say specifically in terms of like the work, I often come onto projects when sets are sort of pretty finalized or costumes. So I find my colleagues inspire me a lot. It's like, oh, these things. And then I can take that as a jumping off point to do my own research in a particular direction.
Yeah. Cool. And Jeanette?
I think just the fact that we're living, there's so many human stories. There's so many things that are happening in the world. And I used to remember that in our lighting design class, Chris Acklin would actually come in the first thing he'll come in would be with a newspaper, and we talk about what's happening to the world. And humans are just fascinating organism,
Yeah. Does anyone else want to add anything to this one? You don't have to. It's not a prerequisite. We've made it to the rapid fire of the roundtable. Drew's not here, so I don't know if we're playing the video.
Jeff's Roundtable Rapid Fire.
Drew, if you're watching, I think you might be, for you. Okay, here we go. Conor, where were you when you found out you were chosen for the internship?
I was in my parents' house. Keeping it rapid fire.
I like it. Ken, where were you?
I don't remember.
Good answer. Nicole.
I was at Berkeley Rep assisting Peter Maradudin, and I got a phone call from a friend at school. She's like, the internship is calling you.
To say yes, thank God.
Yeah.
Say sorry. Jeanette.
I was at Cal Arts at a location called The Bridge, which people at Cal Arts would know where that is.
Okay. Jeanette, what is one memorable moment from your time as an intern? First thing that comes to your mind, a memorable moment.
I was left alone to somehow be with Pat Collins. It was very brave of Jeff Harris. And there was a moment where they decided there was a change in blocking. Instead of bringing the unit down, they are going to keep the unit up there. And Pat was really upset because Pat didn't know just wasn't prepared for that moment. And I was in that particular moment, I somehow got the courage, lean over to her and go like, I think channel 451, that HMI can hit it through the hole. Which the next thing is Pat yelling into the headset, yelling, not into the headset, yelling, and then you feel
I know, as Pat does, right.
Yeah, and then, 451 at full, which is like to Pat, everything is at full at all times.
Right. That's right.
And it did. And
to somebody, she magically says it and all of a sudden it happens.
Yeah, and it did. And that was
that's moment. Great. It worked. Great feeling. Nicole.
So it's the first changeover on stage, and all I've been told up to this point is, oh, you'll see. And so your responsibility standing on stage for the oh, you'll see moment for me is you have a list of 200 lights that have to be focused before the show goes up, before curtain goes up at 8 p.m. And you have a headset on one ear with 3 voices at one time, and then 25 other voices all around you. And it's the first time this combination has happened. They turn the lights off, they start focusing, and then from behind me, I'm screamed at, "Don't step in the paint!" And I was like, "What paint?" It's like black paint, black floor, black lights. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, I do remember that first changeover. It's quite a memory. Get up. I think someone was yelling, "Get up from the tech table before they rip it up over your face" or something.
Oh,
like
yeah.
That.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Ken, how about you?
So I guess at some point, Jeff and Gary had the idea that they would let me focus a few lights, front of house, no less. And so it's La Boheme, and this is not the purple Boheme, this is the brown Boheme.
Yes.
So the crew has been focusing this particular show since I was in kindergarten. So I'm there with my focus charts and the tapes and trying to figure out where to stand. And by the time I get myself all situated, the light's already focused, and Thor had moved on to the next one and was waiting for me to turn that one on to focus. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, and I say back, I think it needs to be just a little bit more to the left. And from the back of the theater, are you sure? Right, and I was wrong.
Conor.
God, there's so many moments like that too, where it's just like, but I think for me, the San Francisco Memorial Opera House, if I'm getting all the words in there correctly, is such a gorgeous building. And there was this time when I was able to just sort of sneak away from everything, and I sat in the last seat you could sit in from the stage, in the way, 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 way up. And they were rehearsing something on stage, but it was the first time I had actually experienced a human being sing opera, like in front of me in that way, from that point of view. And I was just like completely blown away that like, this is it. Like, this is so cool. So I think for me, that moment was just like, I think I got opera in that moment, like for my brain. I was just like taken back by it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Conor, sticking with you, best advice you were given by anyone?
Oh man. This is tough.
You can pass.
I think the best advice I got, I went to right as the internship was starting. I think it was actually technically still all the Hemsley sort of activities before it was the portfolio review around all that. I went to this super fun lighting party, which I knew nothing about. I had no idea what it was. So I asked the previous intern, is this like a work thing? Like, should I look nice or whatever? And she's like, no, it's super casual, just go whatever. And just to tease someone a little bit, I showed up in like a hoodie and a t-shirt or whatever, and Ryan O'Gara saw me, and I thank him for this, and he just ragged on me the whole night, like, what are you doing? You look a mess, like, put a button-up shirt on. And it was so true. And he said, you never know when you're going to be interviewing for a job, so just assume that you always are. And I was just like, ever since then, any sort of casual little function, at least a button-up, and I feel more comfortable. So I appreciated that advice.
Ryan O'Gara is in our studio right now. We'll be on here soon, so I know he heard you say that.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to say that you mentioned somebody mentioned Gary, and I'm going to say that's Gary Martyr, who was also an intern, and Philip Rosenberg is the one who organized the super fun lighting party. Also, Philip Rosenberg, star of episode 1 of Light Humor. Ken, the question is to you. Also, I'm just going to say rapid fire. Okay, Ken, go.
During the internship, it was I'd done something wrong and I was beating myself up for it. And Tommy Marr comes up to me and says, "Ken, don't ever be hard on yourself. That's what all of us are here for."
That's right.
And then he follows it up with, you're doing great. You're really 1 in a million, Ken. That means in New York City alone, there are 7 more just like you.
Nicole.
2, I'll try and make it quick. 1 is take the problem and make it the concept. And the other one is getting work in New York City. The best advice I ever got was it's all about seeing work and being seen doing it.
Yeah, great. Jeanette.
The best advice, the question, are you sure?
Great. Jeanette, sticking with you, something you wish you knew when you started your career.
That's a hard one, actually. I was still thinking about it. I think I just knew how much the relationship is both fleeting and permanent at the same time. Meaning that I haven't seen Nicole literally forever, but yet there is also this bond that also exists.
Yeah.
Totally.
Cool. Nicole.
I would say after this year, I've learned that it would be how to set boundaries.
Ken.
I wish I'd known myself a little bit better, and that being self-employed wasn't for me.
Yeah. Conor, you're at the beginning of your career, but I'll still ask you the question.
Yeah, I think it's that same thing of like, just understand that living an artist or designer's life comes with a certain lifestyle, and that people outside of what you understand as your life don't necessarily get that. So just, I don't know if that makes any sense. Just like,
yeah,
kind of be happy where you are, because like it's hard to do this. So, you know, just.
What point? Yes. Well said. Favorite part of the process for you, Conor? Do you have a favorite part of the process?
I guess I would say I love the moment I've gotten a job and nothing's started yet. It's just, they're so exciting, and I love so much more about actually doing the work, but there's just something like all the possibilities are there. We're going to make this thing and it's going to be awesome.
I love it. Honest answer. Ken.
Tech.
Nicole.
Getting it over with.
Jeanette.
Very good too.
The opening night party. No, I'm with Conor. I think that's a student asked me once, why do you say yes to something? And I said because I'm a sucker for possibility.
Yeah, it's great. Jeanette, what do you do when you're not working?
I try to do my 7-mile run.
Ooh, that's great. Nicole.
I'm with Jeanette. I'm also a runner, and my husband and I are collecting half marathons across this. We're trying to do all 50 states, so we've made it 15.
Amazing. Ken, are you a runner too? Do we have 3?
Read. I'm a bookworm.
Excellent. Conor.
Again, I love to go on a walk with something in my ears and just travel. Amazing.
Last one, Conor. What advice do you have for young people who want to do what you do? You're a young person, so what advice do you have for other people who want to do what you do?
Yeah, the advice I would, I guess, give myself looking back on this is just sort of like, really, like, don't be afraid to form a community. Like, don't think people like that you're not part of the in crowd, I guess, for lack of a better term. Like, form a community, because communities are what like get you through, and it's, you know, whether it be just friends or like work networks, or just, hey, you'll have a place to live because you'll find roommates. For me, it's just like, try to get a community and just, you know, feed that community with love. That's all I can say.
Great. Ken, advice for young people who want to do what you do.
So if you love lighting, but theater, dance, opera don't love you back, then just know that there are lots of ways that you can stay in lighting that don't involve theater.
That's great advice. And that's something I learn all the time, especially since I started talking to people through this 4-wall thing we do. Nicole.
I would just say, if you love it, don't give up.
And Jeanette.
Oh, that's interesting.
I give yourself permission to fail.
Yeah, these are all connected. Thank you all so much. Is there anything you would like to add or retract or clarify before we let you go? Going once, going twice. You guys are all amazing. Anything you want to say?
Thank you
so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you, Dad.
Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us, and I hope I see you all in person with hugs really soon.
Thank you.
Same.
All right. Have a great night. So we are going to move on. The drum roll, please. We're at the point where we're going to announce the recipient of the Howell BINKLEY Fellowship. I'll say, like Gilbert, Howell BINKLEY embodied the same passion for helping young designers, as well as the same joyous personality. For this reason, the Hemsley Lighting Program is proud to be teaming up with the Howell BINKLEY Fellowship to work together to bring more young designers into our community. Before we bring on Ryan and Amanda and Joyce, Al, please roll tape.
Miami. How I doing? How you doing? Detroit.
Can't complain.
Las Vegas.
You look good. No, you look good. No, you look good. No, you look good. No, you look good.
I'm a street light choking on the heat. The world spins around while I'm frozen in my seat. The people that I know all keep on rolling down the street, but every day is different, so I'm switching up the beat. Cause my parents came with nothing, they got a little more. Sure, we're poor, but yo, at least we got the store. It's all about the legacy they left with me is destiny. And one day I'll be on the beach with Sonny writing chapters. You see, the late nights you'll taste beans and rice with super shade lights. I ain't gonna say it twice. Turn on the stage lights. We're taking a flight from the days in the light for what it's like in Washington Heights.
For porn.
And I never feel like somebody calls a father. I can't explain, but when I look at your kid, it's like a mirror, it spins my head, it wakes me.
What a great video. I've watched it a few times, and I'm just as emotional now as I was the first time I saw it. So thank you to Jeff Sugg and Scott Wasserman, who did the sound edit, and Jeff Sugg did the video editing. Really beautifully done. Let's bring in Ryan O'Gara, Amanda Zieve, and Joyce Storey. Hello, Ryan. Hello, Amanda. Hello, Joyce. Hello, Joyce.
There we go.
Welcome to the show. I'm so glad you are here to join us. You were able to join us, and Ryan, especially, you're in where? Australia, right?
We're in Australia. Yeah, we Hamilton here is in Sydney, and it's our first project back, and it's Howell's our first show with Howell not longer with us. And so we've, we're at 100% capacity. We have our first opening on Saturday, and it's been amazing. The audiences are really responding. And since this is a special production, we're trying to find a way to have Howell with us. And so we were very fortunate that Roscoe got the templates with his name on it in the units, so they're here with us. And we were able to, we have on the tech table, we have his frame photo and the Reese cups.
There you go.
So combined, they kind of just. They love just seeing him, and he's with us. And I'm going to make a choice, and I just look down. He's looking at me, and I'm like, okay, we're going that way. Let's clean it. And also, like on the dome, when you come in, we put his templates in one of his favorite colors. And so, like Nevin Steinberg looked up, and he just was like, yes, it was just a way for us to kind of really have him with us, have his spirit, and even the cast members asked about it. And so now, they feel really, feels really special.
That's amazing, and what a great idea. And I'm sure it's the people who know as soon as they walk in the place are immediately moved by it. So can you tell us a little about the fellowship? How did this come about? Yeah.
Early on, Amanda, Joyce, and myself, we talked, and we originally were going to do a scholarship, and then we're like, well, really, like, Howell was really about the transition, and he was constantly bringing students in, would talk to them. You could see in that video, there's pictures where classes would come and observe. I think Amanda and I both really started by observing Howell, and we created that relationship. So the fellowship is now moving to a point where it's a transitional for people usually leaving university or post-education, and they'll be able to spend 3 months with Amanda and myself, and it will be also a combination of Zoom interviews and things. So the students can have Amanda and I and other professionals like Mark Stanley, Ken Billington, Ken Posner, who are on our committee, and also Jamie Fedigan and our whole network. So the fellowship made sense for us to kind of have a jump off for students that are graduating, not sure how to get into industry and how to how the industry works. So that's kind of where the fellowship came from.
Can you tell us a little bit about the selection process? I know that Amanda was here a moment ago, and I know she was going to talk a little bit about that. But until she comes back, you have to vamp, I guess, and tell us a little bit about.
Absolutely, the selection process was pretty amazing. We had 28 applicants, and so we were really touched that many students. And as we all, our committee was Ken Billington, Ken Posner, Mark Stanley, and myself. And I tell you, they really did their homework. We pared down. We got to our 5 finalists, and they were really outstanding. And Amanda and I are going to be able to. It's not like we have our fellow that we will announce in a little bit, but we also have created ties to these other people that we want to continue to help them because there's so much potential. And with these, with this COVID, and these students don't have any like network. They're not meeting people in person. So I think it's going to be great. All right, there you go, man.
Here's Amanda. I was asking about the selection process, and you're just in time.
Excellent. Yeah, well, it was quite the thrill, to get. We had 28 applicants and 5 finalists. And we really want to thank our first committee that consisted of myself, Ryan, Ken Posner, Ken Billington, and Mark Stanley, who you all met earlier. Yep. They really lended their expertise and guidance to get us through this first selection, and also to help us develop the fellowship in general. We're really excited to kind of see the future of our community based on all of these talented applicants we got to review. And we actually also met several people, it should be noted, that we're hoping are going to join our team very soon. They're already ready to come in at the assistant level. And overall, it just gave us, starting this up so close to Howell's passing is giving us somewhere really great to focus the energy surrounding him, and we know that he would have just been so thrilled to see the enthusiasm for this fellowship, not only from the applicants, but also from our whole community sort of kind of rallied behind us. And we know that he would have loved to take part in, the review and meeting the finalists too. Don't you think, Joyce? You would have loved that part.
Absolutely loved it. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Howell's wife. And I'm just so sorry that he wasn't here to enjoy the selection process, because he was so passionate about mentorship, and carrying on this legacy would have meant the world to him. Before we introduce our recipient, we all want to thank the army of individuals and organizations who've so generously donated to this fellowship. Without your incredible support, this program wouldn't have come together and become a reality, especially so quickly. And the fact that you gave at the worst possible economic time is extraordinary. We are so, so grateful. Also, a huge thanks to our friends at the various show families who are going to generously volunteered to help us fundraising going forward, because we haven't really done that yet. We are incredibly grateful. And now, drum roll,
please.
Yes, it is a great pleasure. And before I do that, I want to thank Amanda and Ryan for just being amazing with all you've done for this. But the drum roll to introduce our very first Howell BINKLEY Fellow, Miss Kat Zoe.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Kat grew up in Seattle. I want to tell you, Jeff, a little about her.
Please.
She began her lighting journey in high school as a student, and she was seeking community in extracurricular theater, as a lot of us started that way. Originally, she was planning to become a mathematician, and she moved to Boston to study mathematics, not lighting, at Harvard. And yes, she is a smarty pants. Outside of class, she's continued to design, falling in love with the transformative power of lighting and its capacity to tell meaningful stories and to change the way people see things. Inspired to pursue lighting design professionally after graduating, she enrolled in Boston University, where she received her MFA last May. Congratulations, Kat. You are our very first inaugural Howell BINKLEY Fellow.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Pat. Joyce did such a great job with an introduction. Is there anything you'd like to add about yourself?
No, I would love to thank a few people. I really wanted to thank, first of all, Joyce, Amanda, and Ryan for creating this fellowship in honor of Mr. BINKLEY. And thank you so much to the selection committee for choosing me. I'm really honored to receive this opportunity, and I'm excited for the chance to learn and grow as a designer. And I also wanted to take a quick moment to thank the faculty of the Boston University School of Theater, in particular, Mark Stanley, without whose guidance and mentorship, I would not be here today. So thank you to all the educators who have helped me become who I am today.
Amazing. Thank you, Kat. Congratulations. So happy for you. It's a great way to start. And you're in great hands, I have to say. Ryan and Amanda are going to take great care of you. And I look forward to, announcing the next one. Let me know. I'll be right here for you.
We're very excited. We're very happy and thrilled that the Hemsley lighting programs has really taken us under the wing, and they've been absolutely extraordinary. And we are so thankful to be part of this amazing organization and the legacy that they continue and that we can add to it. We're so happy.
We are very happy. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. Wait, one last look. I know because Ryan mentioned it earlier. There's the great image. Ryan, remind us who did this.
Jason Thompson. Who was a UCSD student that worked with Howell and designed with Howell, and was so talented and brought a lot to even the tribute that we had done.
Great.
And is a wonderful video designer.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you all. Thanks for joining us. Again, congratulations, Kat. It's really great to see everyone, and I hope I see you all in person soon. And for Four Wall Entertainment and Drew, who will be with us soon, and Al Rodella and myself, we will see you next week. Thank you all so much, and have a great night.